Chile, or Chile. General Pinochet pulled off a military coup and installed himself as a dictator. He was able to do this because the two political parties of Chile had basically gotten so far apart, and this is something that we've been talking about throughout the last couple of hours, is, you know, the tearing apart of America, the Democratic Party trying to build a country that works, trying to do things for the people, for the general welfare of the people, as envisioned in the General Welfare Clause of the Constitution. It's repeated three or four different times in the Constitution. It's in the preamble. It's at the opening of Article 1, Section 8. It's at the end of it. The Democratic Party trying to do what's good for the working people and average people in the United States. The Republican Party trying to do for the billionaires and the multimillionaires, giving them massive tax cuts, increasing our debt, trying to end Social Security, trying to drill more holes in Medicare, trying to prevent children in Republican-controlled states from even getting access to health care, trying to prevent women from having access to abortion as a form of health care. I mean, this just all of this. So anyhow, Pinochet in 73 pulled this off because their own two parties were so polarized. By 78, the two parties, Terry Canfield notes, by 1978 in Chile, the two parties started talking to each other. You know, it was the fact that the country had been taken over by a dictator, literally, that brought the two parties together. Eventually, she writes, they rebuilt trust, and by 1985, the anti-Pinochet forces came together and signed a national accord for transition to a full democracy. And democracy was, in fact, restored. But it was this brutal dictatorship. I mean, you know, Pinochet, I was at a right-wing rally a couple of months ago, and somebody was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Throw liberals out of helicopters." That's what Pinochet was doing. He was taking, you know, opposition figures and taking them up a couple thousand feet in helicopters and throwing them out to their death. It was a particularly brutal and terrifying way to kill people. And so Terry says, what happens if we find ourselves in an actual autocracy? What happens if Donald Trump loses in 2020 and him and Fox News and right-wing hate radio say, oh, but it's a phony baloney election. It was rigged. The Democrats hacked the election. The Democratic states, they hacked the voting machines or whatever. You know, if he says this and he refuses to leave, what do we do? And Terry's suggestion is Democrats need to find common ground with Republicans on things where they actually agree and pull together. I'm trying to figure out what those things are. I think there may be some, and in fact, this might be. I had breakfast on Saturday, I think it was, it was Saturday morning in New York City with Julio Rivera, who comes on this program and debates me from time to time. It was the first time we've actually hung out, face to face in person, and we had a very nice breakfast and conversation about what our differences are, and also about the things that we agree on, and there actually are some. And Terry makes the point, hey, I met a cancer researcher who developed chemo drugs. She told me if she got cancer, she'd immediately go on a macrobiotic, it's a vegan diet, as the best way to organically fight cancer. And I thought, why wait? Why not start eating more veggies, rice, and beans right now? Right? And she says the same thing with getting out of an autocracy. Why wait until Donald Trump turns himself into a full-blown Augusto Pinochet-style dictator? Let's bring this country back together now. Let's reach out to our Republican allies and friends and family members. She points out Trump is a master at manipulating and controlling the national conversation. He was trained by coaches at NBC when he was doing The Apprentice on how to do reality television. He did this for a decade or thereabouts. And he knows how to run a reality show, and that's what he's doing. Every single day in the White House, he's trying to figure out, okay, how do we get the words Donald Trump on the front page of every newspaper in America and leading every news story? It doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. As P.T. Barnum said, I don't care what they say about me, just be sure that they spell my name right. And that's what Trump has been doing, with the help of Sarah Sanders and Kellyanne Conway and a number of his Republicans. He's also a very skilled con artist, and most of the people who are Trump followers have been conned. They don't realize, who he really is and what he's all about. And he's cynically employing, this is a Yale professor, Jason Stanley, says Trump is cynically employing fascist tactics, not just to seize power, but to enrich himself. And Terry notes there's a proportion of our population who are fearful by nature. They are by nature averse to complexity and uncomfortable with diversity. And, we can't do much to change who these people are, but we can reach out to them. After Trump came along, he knows exactly how to manipulate them. And by the way, that field was sown way back in the Reagan years. And then the right-wing billionaires have been adding to that. So Terry's suggestion is all we need is about 60% of Americans to figure out that Donald Trump is a con man, a hustler, and a grifter. And maybe we can save ourselves.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
What do you think? We've got that, plus we're continuing conversations from previous hours. I'll be taking your calls right after the break. And welcome back. Lyle in Youngtown, Arizona. Hey, Lyle, what's on your mind today? Thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV.
Tom. Thanks for taking my call. It's been a while since I talked to you. That's an amazing talk that you just did about, fascists.
Lyle, I'm having a real hard time understanding what you're saying. If you have me on a speakerphone, would you please put it on regular or get your mouth closer to the microphone?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, that sounds better. Start over.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking my call, Tom. That was a really great talk you just had. I mean, I was so impressed with that. And, when you were talking about the rise of fascism, and earlier you were talking about Rupert Murdoch's media empire, how he has spread that through the countries like Australia, the UK, Poland, Austria, Hungary, all those places, These guys are he's in cahoots with Steve Bannon, of course. And Bannon was down in Brazil helping Bolsonaro get elected. He's kind of one of those house mouses that, you try to get rid of, but he's just all scampering all over the place. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I can't help but to go back to my college days, and I studied history at Yale, and I was very much interested in studying the Third Reich and how they started. Now, this guy Bannon and Murdoch, Joseph Goebbels would be just wringing his hands in delight.
He's from the grave. He's applauding Donald Trump every day.
Yes, indeed. And you always say about how history repeats itself. And those who don't know history will allow it to repeat again. And I think we're going back to another cycle like that. I don't know what you think about it, but you took so many words out of what I was thinking about in your last talk. I know it's just impressive. Yeah. I just love it.
So Lyle, what's the bottom line here, if we can summarize what you're saying?
Well, I think, I don't know if a lot of people have studied about this, about the transformation of government and how
fascism happens, essentially.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's how it happened. And then I was also reading something about the Fourth Reich and neo-Nazis. And,
Fourth Reich?
Really serious. The Fourth Reich.
The Third Reich was Hitler's Germany. What's the Fourth Reich?
It was Hitler's Germany, and the Fourth Reich is what's going on now. That's the neo-Nazi visions. Yeah. The Fourth Reich is featuring Aryan supremacy and anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
As well.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, and here's how it happens. And Lyle, thank you for the call, and thanks for your kind comments. This is how it happens. This is how fascists take over. First, they sow fear. Right? Be afraid. Be afraid of those brown people coming over the border. Be afraid of those black people in the inner city. Be afraid of, just be afraid. Be afraid of the Jews, and be afraid of the women and, feminazis. And first they sow fear. And then once that fear is well established, once the roots are in the soil, then they sow hate. They convert that fear into hate. Oh, you shouldn't be just afraid of those people. You should hate them. They're murderers and rapists, don't you know? And then once they have torn people apart from each other with this dreadful fear and hate, to quote Dwight Eisenhower, then they seize government, seize the power of government, you know, through those divisions, and then they turn that government against itself and against its own people. And we are at least 50% of the way into that process. We'll be right back. And welcome back. 23 minutes past the hour. Tom Hartman here with you. We're going to do a geeky science coming out of the break at the bottom of the hour, by the way. I've got some more Monsanto glyphosate news that I think is going to shock you. In the last hour, somebody had called and asked me why, you know, if Illinois is so wonderful now that they've got a Democratic governor, why are they losing population or something like that? I forget what the specifics of the right-wing meme were. And I notice I've got 2 calls on the board here from people who want to directly answer that. So I'm going to pick those up first, and then we'll get into the other topics. Vicky in Harvard, Illinois, listening on Sirius XM. Hey, Vicky, what are your thoughts?
Hello?
Hey, Vicky, you're on the air.
Oh, hello? Oh, am I on the air?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm in New York driving through. One of the things I wanted to talk about were the taxes. I think people are confused at what a graduated tax is and a flat rate tax.
Right.
And people think right away that, oh my gosh, I make $250,000. I'm going to get taxed on that $250,000 at 30% or whatever it is. But it isn't like that. It's you're taxed up to, let's say, your first $100,000.
Did we just lose Vicky?
Oh.
She's yeah. Vicky, I'm sorry, we just lost you. I think you must have hit a dead zone. But George in Chicago, listening to WCPT, wants to weigh in on the same or the similar topic. I'm assuming, George. That says Illinois politics here. You want to follow up?
Yes. I'm just a citizen, okay, but I vote in every election, and I do my best to keep up with everything and stay active. Just as a suggestion, a discussion on this matter with Dick Kay of WCPT would be illustrative because he's covered state politics.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And he knows everything and everybody. But just briefly from my limited point of view, in the recent past, we had 26 years of uninterrupted Republican administrations in this state. 14 years of Jim Thompson, 8 years of Jim Edgar, 4 years of George Ryan, who would have won re-election if he hadn't run afoul of the federal authorities and ended up serving time for corruption. And during that 26 years, the Republicans never had control of less than one house of the legislature and often 2. Most recently, this administration of Bruce Rauner, who had never held office before in his life and had spent as much time out of the state recently as in the state because he is a wealthy billionaire with houses and installations all over the place, and had made a sizable chunk of his fortune, ironically enough, on setting up public pension plans and such things. But his administration proves that it's not just the Democrats and the working class that get beaten up by this juggernaut of Republican billionaires and unlimited money. It's longtime Republican office holders. During the time that Rauner was governor, he had 2 major objectives. One was to destroy public sector unions in this state in particular and unions in general. The second thing was drastic tax cuts. And reasonable Republicans who held office in the House and the Senate for long periods of time were bullied beyond belief by Rauner and his people that if they didn't toe the line on everything he said and did and sing his praises, they would be primary.
George, we just have 10 seconds. Is the bottom line that what you're saying is that if Illinois has problems, it's because of 20-plus years of Republican rule?
And because during the 4 years of Rauner, he forced the state to run without a budget, and all these problems were not addressed.
Yeah, okay, makes perfect sense. So a Republican calls into the show and says, gee, the Democrats have taken over Illinois now. Why does Illinois have all these problems? Thank you, George, for answering the question. I appreciate that. And it makes perfect sense. It's coming up on 28 minutes past the hour. It's the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be back with more of your calls, the news of the day, and my special geeky science right after this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Children's cereal contaminated with cancer-causing chemicals? Yes, stick around. I'll tell you all about it. It's Wednesday, and we're halfway through the week, or we will be, I suppose, at the end of the day, depending on how you parse a 5, right? But we are still way behind, and mostly it's because of last week. Monday and Tuesday were okay. We would have met our goals had it been an ordinary week where we had hit our goals pretty much every other day, but we're still in a pretty deep hole. And so we really need your help. Free Speech TV, this program, we need your help. So please, if you have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV, consider becoming a Free Speech TV donor. They don't sell their email addresses or their list or, their names or anything like that. This is one of those, unlike some of the political campaigns I've discovered, you sign up for something or you take a survey or whatever and give me your email address and suddenly you're getting 500, emails from everybody in the world. That will not happen here. Free Speech TV is very, very careful and circumspect about, keeping your privacy private, essentially. So your donation is just to Free Speech TV and this program, on Free Speech TV, making all this happen, and is really needed right now. The number is 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. With a $20 gift, you get a roll of the new Trump toilet paper. And I am hoping that one of these days soon that that I can get one too. And with a $50 gift, you get the Trump toilet brush. With a stand, in fact. How cool is that? And with a $60 gift, you get both, which is a $70 value, but it's with a $60 gift. These are one-time gifts. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, that's got an autographed book plate in it. So, you'll have an autographed copy of the book. That's a $120 one-time gift. With a $20 a month commitment for the next year, you get a Thom Hartmann stainless steel water bottle that says democracy begins with you. With a $30 a month sustaining membership gift, where you're committing to give every month, you get the Thom Hartmann Program stainless steel water bottle, plus you get the Thom Hartmann Program tote bag. So that's kind of cool stuff. With a $500 gift, we're going to do a virtual meet and greet. I've described it a number of times. It'll be on probably Zoom, and we will be talking online. And it'll be, it's not going to be just played or anything. It's just us talking. You and me and the other $500 donors, which is typically a fairly small group of people, and we've done something close to this in the past, and it was fascinating. So I look forward to talking to you online if you're one of the people who takes us up on that offer. With a $1,000 meet and greet, you can either come here to Portland, and I'm back in Portland today. You can come here to Portland and hang out on the couch here in the office in the studio, and watch us do the program. See how we turned a normal office in an office building into a television studio, and it's kind of cool, all the technology and everything that Sean is doing and Nate is doing and Nick and Joyce and everybody. It's fascinating. I think you'll find it really interesting. And by the way, that includes lunch. I'll buy your lunch, but it doesn't include travel arrangements. But typically it's a group of people, just a small group of people that gets together for the meet and greets. Or or you can come to a meet and greet that we're going to have in Philadelphia on July 12th. If you're coming to Netroots Nation, that big annual conference that used to be put on by the Daily Kos people and now has become kind of its own thing. That's July 12th in Philadelphia. We'll be doing a meet and greet there, but that's only available to people who are $1,000 donors to Free Speech TV. So, and that'll be nice. The appetizers, drinks, so it'll be fun. But the bottom line is whether, premiums are nice, right? It's nice to get a little swag for your contribution. But more importantly is whatever you can give that you call now. Call today, 877-378-8669. We need to get this fundraising program back on track. We are badly off track. And like I said, I don't know if this is because I pre-recorded some fundraising appeals last week, or if it's because people are giving money to campaigns, and in either case, I completely understand. But we've got to make this work. We've got to keep this network on the air. We've got to keep this show, at least from my point of view, I hope from yours. We've got to keep this program on this network. And, if we don't hit our goals a couple of fundraising cycles in a row, everything's at risk, seriously. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We don't have any, billionaire benefactors. We don't have any corporations that are pouring money into our coffers. It's all coming from small gifts from you and people like you. So if you have not yet become a Free Speech TV donor, please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I may be coming to your city soon on our book tour for The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment. I'll be in New York, Washington, D.C., Portland, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, and Minneapolis. Here I come. More information is available at thomhartmann.com. Powell's here in Portland, and if you've never been to Powell's, plan on spending a day. It's an amazing, amazing bookstore. Okay, our geeky science alert. I wanted to share this with you. And somewhere we've got some geeky science music. But, there it is, right there. Okay, this is from EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group. Major food companies like General Mills continue to sell popular children's breakfast cereals, they write, and other foods contaminated with troubling levels of glyphosate or glyphosate. I've heard it pronounced both ways. That is the cancer-causing ingredient in the herbicide Roundup. And it was detected in, I'm quoting from the article, it was detected in all 21 oat-based cereal and snack products sampled in a new round of testing commissioned by the Environmental Working Group. All but 4 products contained levels, all of them had glyphosate. All but 4 of them contained levels of glyphosate higher than what the EWG scientists consider protective for children's health with a sufficient margin of safety. This is pretty mind-boggling. Since last August, 3 California juries have awarded more than $2.2 billion total in 3 separate verdicts against Bayer Monsanto over claims that Roundup caused cancer and that Monsanto knew about the risks for decades and went to extraordinary lengths to cover it up. So how is this getting on the oats? It's the same thing that they started doing with wheat back around 2000, and to this day I'm convinced that my whole celiac, I just can't eat gluten anymore. My whole celiac thing is somehow related to this because it was around the same time. When the machines come to harvest the wheat, if the wheat is still alive and green, when it's kind of like a pair of scissors that slice the tops off, and like a giant paddle wheel from a paddle wheel boat against a blade. And if they're still green, then a certain percentage, 10-15% of the wheat heads don't get chopped off. They get just they gum up the machine. So what they do is they spray Roundup, glyphosate, over the entire crop at harvest time. Wait 3 days until everything is dead. It kills all the plants. They turn brown and they also turn brittle. And that way, when they run the harvesting machine over it, it pops off 100% of the heads. And apparently they're doing this with oats now as well. And this is the whole new thing, and it's showing up in our children's cereal. And this is mind-boggling. And of course, as long as Trump is in office, the EPA isn't going to do a damn thing about this. At least we've got the courts right now. But we'll see where we go with it. Brad in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. Hey, Brad, what's on your mind today?
I really feel that climate is a zero-sum game, and by that I mean if we gain, others lose, and this is most dramatic in the equatorial regions becoming hotter and the floods coming our way. However, the refugees that are displaced by all of this or are fleeing this, it really is our responsibility, absolutely unequivocally. And we tend to think we can have it all, and there's no consequences for our profligate behavior.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't have right at the tip of my tongue the percentage, but my recollection is it's somewhere between 25 and 50% of all the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has come from industrial activity in the United States. I think it was 25%, and we're only 4% of the world's population. So I agree with you, Brad. The refugees are our responsibility, and we shouldn't be tearing families apart and putting children in prisons that were used as Japanese internment camps. That is obscene. Derek in Chicago. Hey, Derek, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, it's a privilege to speak with you.
Well, thank you, Derek.
I wish I had the money to donate to the show, but as I told the person that answered the phone, I'm disabled and I'm trying to live off of $1,200 a month.
Yeah, no, we're good. The thing you can do to help our program and other progressive programs, Derek, is tell people about it. If you can get a couple more people watching, maybe one of them will help out and support our sponsors in the case of our commercial stations, or support our nonprofit stations and free speech. But Derek, what's you had a point you wanted to make?
Yes, I look at what's going on like a Monopoly game. And playing the game of Monopoly, once you monopolize the board, the game is over unless you give up some of your property and money to the game to keep it going. So what's going to happen when the powers that be monopolizes all the money?
Well, we're damn close to it, Derek. And then the Monopoly game was invented back in the 1920s, by the way, by a woman whose first name was Mary. And she did this to warn people about exactly what you're talking about, Derek. The Monopoly game was originally a way of demonstrating how business will basically, suck up everything through monopoly and destroy economies. And that becomes a zero-sum game, to use a phrase from the previous caller. So...
Wow, that's something else. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. Thanks for the call. We're in answer to your question, what happens? We're seeing it in real time. In Europe, for example, where they have net neutrality and they require competition among internet service providers, the companies that you get your broadband from, at home, they require that competition. Like in France, there's over 100 companies you can pick from. It doesn't matter who runs the wire into your home or the cable into your home. There's over 100 companies that you can, and the average cost of internet in France is around $30 a month. The average cost here in the United States is around $90 a month. Why? Because you've got 4 companies that control most of it. One company that controls about half of all the internet in the United States. That's what happens with monopoly. It's happening with drugs and drug prices. It's happening with hospitals and hospital prices. It's happening, pick your industry. It's happening all over the place, and it's something that we really need to be doing something about. Tim in Mesick, Michigan. Hey, Tim, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Hey, Derek, I feel your pain, brother. Oh, man, Tom, I love your I love the network, and I've done everything I can do to keep it on the air because you maintain my sanity and nourish my mind.
Well, thank you, Tim. Let's get right to your topic. You wanted to talk about union pensions?
Yes, I'm a retired union construction erection machinist that installed printing presses from the LA Times, Chicago Tribune, New York Times, Globe, and Herald. And I just got this notice from my pension fund that it's in danger.
Oh,
and what I need to know is if the Democrats are going to federally protect union pensions.
Well, the attack on union pensions started with the Reagan administration when Ronald Reagan
I know that.
changed the
Grover
rules.
Norquist.
Yeah.
First thing you do.
Oh, yeah. Take out the unions. Yeah, but the problem that we have right now is that the Republicans, are in control of the Senate. So, the Democrats have repeatedly passed legislation over the years to protect pensions, and the Republicans shoot it down, or you get a Republican president shooting it down. So I agree with you, Tim. This is a big issue, and the federal pension guarantee program, I believe that's the acronym for it, in fact, is badly underfunded right now and needs to be fully funded because this is all about human beings. And we're not talking big money. We're not talking Pentagon kind of money. We're talking, just a few $1 billion. But it's not even a fraction of what the Republicans gave away in the $1.5 trillion tax cut from the year before last, for billionaires. So this has to be done. And I guarantee you, Tim, the Democrats are on it, but the problem is that you've got Trump in the White House and you got Republicans in the Senate. So what we have to do is everything we possibly can to help Democrats take back the Senate and to be sure that Trump is a one-term president. Frankly, no other option, in my opinion. Mark in San Francisco, listen.